Hello everyone, I'm E. Today I want to present you the assignment of a Common Core ELA standard. I choose the book, The Charlotte's Wave, because honestly, this assignment is quite challenging to me. I didn't grow up in America, so it means that I don't really, I'm not familiar with the children's books here. If you want to ask me about a Chinese children's book, I can tell you tons of them. Um, this story, according to the teaching plan, this suggests that for the first graders, but it also strongly suggests that maybe in the late of first grade, because we know that it's quite a long story. And this teaching plan that is for the 4 to 5 weeks and 20 minutes per day. So the teacher best to, choose a very good timing to start it. And the student, they can learn a lot of vocabulary from the story, since that's a very popular story. And we also have that kind of movie. Student can also learn the knowledge about the friendship, the farm life and animals, biological habits of spiders and their life circle, the passing of seasons, and the grieving. Even some students, they cannot really identify the feeling of grieving here, but later on, they will understand that because we know we we will all experience that sooner or later in our life. And the learning theory here, the physical development, because for the first grader, I think everyone know that like a story, even though it's quite a long story. In the beginning, maybe they cannot really have to sit very, for such a long time, but when the story goes, and more and more intriguing, more and more student involved, they will like it. They will expect the following day, they will expect the consequence. And also, after the reading, the teaching plan suggests the teacher to have some question to the student. Sometimes the question about the term, the vocabulary, or the setting, or the phrase is all very important. And they can have some discussion. And the teacher also does send the student into very small group of two. So sometimes they can, talk to the partner. And also the emotional development. Not just the grieving part. Also, in the beginning, we know Wilbur the pig, he is not so popular in the barn because he's so young, he's so naive. A lot of animals laugh at him. But how can he overcome that kind of situation is also very important. And also the cognitive development. We know in this world there are so many different lifestyles, and the countryside is quite a slow pace, and the people have different lifestyle in that kind of that kind of area, not like the city. And also we learn like the passing of the season I mentioned, and also the farm life and animal. And kids, they can understand how our position relate to the nature. It's quite important. And let alone the linguistic development, because the student listen to the reading, they have the opportunity to speak, and it's also very good for them. And what kind of ingredients in this plan? Since this assignment focus on the Common Core standard, let's talk about it now. First of all, we talk about the reading, because we know that it's a quite long time reading, and at least 20 minutes for 4 to 5 weeks. So every day, the teacher will maybe recall the previous story and maybe repeat some kind of vocabulary phrase, or maybe some important idea about the story. And it's very good. And also the teacher, because we know the setting there, it's the funniest part here, in this book, because every title of the chapter is very easy for the reader to capture that kind of rough idea about this chapter. So sometimes the teacher, they can provide this opportunity to ask the student. In the beginning, maybe they just recite the chapter's name and then ask them what can they think or image the plot. Yeah. And also, like here, according to this standard, They also talk about the teacher can provide the student some kind of a comparing experience. So here, you can see here, because in the end, the child make her decision. She want to go to the fair. So it's very complicated for her because she's happy, and at the same time she said too, why? You can compare that. It's a very, you know, if the student really pay attention to that, of course, if the student didn't really catch that, usually the teacher they can retell the story again, reread that, and the student they can catch that kind of idea. So the teacher can write it down and for a student to compare. It's also very good for the student to practice that. And then we talk about speaking and listening. Things that they listen to the story and respond to teacher is very important. But how about speaking? Because the teacher will provide a lot of opportunity to learn they express their feeling and also maybe their view, or sometimes maybe some discussion. Like chapter 19, they talk about the spider's egg sac. So the teacher will ask the students to give some information they learned about that. And the teacher can help them to write it down. Or like here, the teaching plan also provide this kind of activity. They do some acting. Because you can turn to your partner, pretend like you are the old sheep trying to convince the tempter to come to the fair. Tell him about all the good food. Also, this teaching plan also have another activity like a debate. It's very difficult for the first grader, but it's also a very good trying because they ask about the tempter. Is he is he a hero or not? Because we know that he risked his life to get some word for Charlotte. But sometimes not sometimes, he is always that kind of food-driven animal, rat. So it's a very good chance for the student to listen and to speak if they really have that kind of debate activity. And finally, we talk about writing. It's not very easy for them to write it down. So most of the time, the teacher will ask them some question and the teacher will write it down for them. But in the end, they have an activity, and that is a 2-day activity. The first day, the teacher will teach the student the 3 very important words from this lesson, from this story: affectionate, loyal, and skillful, and tell them about the definitions about them and the description from the story. And the following day, the teacher will hand out this kind of worksheet to ask the student to write down Charlotte was a affectionate, loyal, or skillful friend to Wilbur. Draw the picture as you remember, provide the evidence, and also write down the story here. And that's also very good for a student to practice writing. And then the teacher also asks us to read the article about the 5 things every teacher should be doing. To me, this teaching plan applies to the lead high-level text-based discussion because the teacher always asks some question related to the story. And they focus on the process, not just content. Of course, sometimes since that's a long time story, the student, they can accumulate more and more experience, or maybe they can do some research at home. They want to share, so it's also very important. And let alone increase the text complexity. Even, here, the teaching plan also suggests that maybe if you have the opportunity, you can guide a student further because like a little girl Fern, she also changed a little bit. In the beginning, she spent a lot of time in the barn, but later on, she didn't even show up in the competition because she hung out with the boy. So she changed. That is a different phase of life, always happened in everyone's life, So it's also very good opportunity for students to learn. And how about the miss out? I think teaching argument, not persuasion, is really very difficult. Even though they have that kind of debate activity, but how to lead or teach or demonstrate that to the student for the teacher, I think is still very challenging. Create assignment for a real audience and with real purpose. I think this whole story is really good, and the teaching plan also provides lots of very meaningful activity. But to me, if you really focus on the friendship, why don't you want to ask the student have this kind of opportunity to, invite their relatives, and if they have like a long, lifelong friend, maybe they can come to the class and to share their friendship. Sometimes it's up, sometimes down, and how can they overcome that. I think it's also very good. Also, you can raise some, like a spider as your class pet to observe the spider cycle. I think that is also a good idea. And if I can have a say to make this teaching plan better, I will also hope I can guide a student talk about what is the real good friend. Because nowadays we think, okay, the friend just hang out with me or share something with me. Yeah, you can say that it is a friend, but that is a really good friend because like this, according to this course, we learn something like the bullying. Sometimes a lot of friends, they work together to bully others. So what is so-called good friend? I believe that is still based on the moral code. So it's very important for a student. They can tell that is so-called good friend or just, friend. And to be other people's good friend, sometimes you have to tell the truth. You have to have some kind of benevolence, affection, and be patient to your friend, and to accompany your friend when they need you. It's also very important for children to learn, especially in the first grade, if they didn't, participate in the kindergarten. So maybe that is their first year in the school, and they need to learn how to make really good lifelong term, that kind of friends. So it's very important. Here's some reference here, and thank you for your listening. Bye bye.